Hi everybody. I'm going to try and bring in Barb Wild. We're telling your fathers that we started. Okay. Hi. Just going to bring in Barb Wild of Go Live With. Here we go. Let's try and invite her. Of Good Wine Gal. So I hope you have your glass of wine handy. And hopefully she gets in here soon, and we're going to talk about food and wine today. What could be better? Waiting for Good Wine Gal. I sent you an invite. There she is. Hi, Barb.
How are you, Allison? How's it going?
Well. We get to talk about wine and food today. What could be better?
Everything stops for that, let me tell you.
I agree. And you're going to talk about your class later, but I have the wine for class later at 5:30. So I'm just going to have a little bit now, and then I'll have a little bit more later.
Well, let's just say this is for tomorrow. So you just might have to, yes, tomorrow.
Okay.
And I've got one too. I have the Malbec. Yeah. So let's do a little.
Which is cheers. Which is one of my favorite wines, or grapes, I suppose, Malbec. So tell me quickly about what you do. Well, tell the people watching quickly about what you do.
Oh, all right. First a sip, because and look into your eyes.
See, that's a proper wine taste there with the sipping and everything.
Always bring in a little air, let it go, swoosh it around your mouth, get all the flavor, feel the sensation of the wine on your palate, just like you would food.
So not just guzzling.
Well, let's say we've all been there too.
Tell the people watching what you do.
What I do. I am really feeling inspired to bring wine to people in a way that it just takes away the pomp and the prestige and all those barriers that make people feel nervous and uncomfortable. And I just want to try to eliminate that. So how do I do that? Well, I talk about it. I write about it. I post about it. I try to put it in simple language. I try to make it easy. I try to say, like, if you want to talk about your wine, for example, just use your terms. And if you want to learn how to use wine terms, well, there's Wine School for that. And we have a variation on that theme, but really we're like, oh, it's dry. Oh, it's red. Oh, there's fruit. Oh, there's nice acidity. And acidity's cool because when it comes to food pairings, we want acidity. How do we know there's acidity in a wine style? We just tip our chin down a little bit and we feel whether or not there's a little saliva gathering in the front of our mouth. And as soon as we sense that saliva, we know there's acidity. And the more you can, yes.
Okay, and I need to drink more to test it again.
Do it. I'm going to too, just so you know.
Okay.
And the other thing, yes?
The other thing?
Yeah, the other thing is, it's maybe a North American thing. I don't know. But, in yoga, it's like slow down, take your time, ba. Well, we should do that with wine and food, which means, I love this glass, by the way. This is a Riedel, Riedel like the needle, Riedel like the needle. If anybody wants to know how to say Riedel, it's Riedel like the needle.
Riedel. Okay, yeah. I've been saying wrong forever.
Oh, so have I. I mean, until I was, until I learned, like everyone is learning. This is all what it's about. But you see the shape of this? This is a Pinot Noir glass, but it's got a beautiful big bowl and the wine just anyway, the idea is you look at it and you swirl it and it tells you something. It gives you a message. It gives you some clues. And then you're like, ooh, now I want to taste it. But we spend most of our time as wine professionals going and smelling it. But see, I didn't know.
Chris here just said, make sure you snip it. So there you go.
Yeah. See, look, when I first started out, I just thought you put it in a glass, you just drank it and somehow you would know some information. But No, it's like food. It's like when you have a beautiful plating in front of you and you've got a sauce and a slice and, you don't just like,
Yeah. You
you just
sit,
like,
you give it a little bit of
yes.
like what's coming off of it, and you start to get a hint of what it might taste like when you have your.
Orientation. Yeah. It sets you up. It sets you up for success too. Like the aromas set you up for, and Malbec always has a little coffee espresso kind of note. And it's subtle in this one, but it's there. And I just love it because this is a BC producer. We're not in Argentina. I love Argentine Malbec. I love them. Like, amazing. Many different producers doing variations, but that
But
big,
good to know there's
voluptuous,
some
full body.
BC Malbec too. I love that.
Yeah.
And I like that
Definitely.
you're willing to bring wine to the people, and it's not all hoity-toity. And even if I have an IKEA glass, we can still drink our wine.
we could do a whole conversation just on wine glasses too,
I'm sure. Well, mine came because when we back before COVID and our big holiday parties be like 40, 50, 60 people, got to be over 60 people. I just had to buy wine glasses.
Amazing.
I couldn't have special wine glasses for every kind of wine times that many people. So yeah, it's IKEA around here, but one day we'll progress to fancy
One day. And the thing is, this is the secret of the thinness, the fineness of the glass as it touches your lips and the wine moves into your mouth. There's a certain elegance and ability to connect with the wine a little more closely, a little, more personally. That really informs then what you're tasting. And then, of course, the other thing is like Riedel spent years developing glasses for Chardonnay, glasses for Cabernet, glasses for, port. And I used to be like, bah, that's just marketing until I actually sat through a session. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm a total believer.
They're doing it for a reason.
Yes, ma'am. And listen, it's a great gift to give someone too. The gift of glassware. But
especially if you know their favorite wine already, or I mean, when I go to the same people's house all the time, I don't mind to bring wine, but once in a while, I would like to bring something. Maybe I bring 2 glasses with the bottle once in a while, or something like that.
So I have a special glass for you. I decided to bring it today. I don't know if you can see this.
I like how well you already know me.
This is from my daughter. It says, finally, a wine glass that fits my needs. This is like, okay. Anyway.
We've actually only met in person once, but you already know me so well.
Well, it's a chemistry thing, food and wine. You're a very sparkling personality. And of course, you love wine, so great.
I don't know enough about wine, which is why I'm excited to be attending your classes, and we'll tell everybody about your classes. And I'm, as you know, more kind of about the food. I usually am so busy with the food, I just simply don't have time for the wine. And so I rely on well-mannered guests to bring an appropriate wine that would pair with the food. And most of the time they do. And I love it when somebody texts me ahead of time and says, just want to know, like, what are the main courses? What can I pair with? And I think that's really special because they're investing in the meal that I'm cooking.
Yeah.
They're not just bringing whatever was left over in their cupboard, which I usually do to other people.
Well, and look, you're not someone who says, thanks for that bottle. I've got here this $10 bottle that, I've been saving to open just because you're here.
No, it's nice to see what other people bring and how they want to pair it. And I think I still think, and I checked with you on this, I still think it's a lovely hostess gift. And I wasn't sure if it's getting kind of passe to just be like, well, I'll bring wine. But I still think it's a great hostess gift. I don't have a lot of wine in the house because if I kept too much wine in the house, I would just drink it all. I'm not allowed to have a lot of wine in the house. So it's nice when people offer, and I still love it as a hostess gift. I think it's perfect. And especially if I'm going to the trouble to cook a really thoughtful meal. So what are your feelings on the whole relationship between food and wine and pairing? And I
Well,
mean, there's a saying that a good cook can cook off of a fire pit
yep,
if like they're
I
a good
can.
cook. So a good wine should be able to go with any food. What's a
So
good
I,
wine?
so I don't know if you can see this, but this is a bottle of champagne, grower champagne to be precise. And maybe I'll move
Yeah.
back a little bit. There you go.
Look,
Now you can see it.
it's my glasses. I was like,
Mine too. Um, Champagne goes with everything. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. No, there will be people who will say absolutely not. But I used to do
don't have my
Dirty
cup right
Apron.
here.
Yeah, like Dirty Apron, Valentine's Day, lovely 5 or 6 course spread with each course a different style of champagne. And because there are so many styles, you certainly have the option of, scallops, oysters, meat. Like you'd be like, what meat? Like, no, but yes. And it's really amazing when you think about the versatility of bubbles and champagne in particular. So I'm a huge fan. I'm also a huge fan of cava because cava, they say when the vineyards were attacked by phylloxera in the late 1800s, the Champenois, so the folks from Champagne, fled with their vines to countries or went to countries to find producers who could provide the white still wine in order to make champagne. And they went to Spain. And of course, the rest is history. Now, cava is made the same way champagne is. It just doesn't have the same cachet. And therefore, the price is like a fraction. So I always say to people, like, if you're not sure, go pick up a bottle of cava. At between $15 and $30, you're golden. So, mind you, at $50 for this, I don't know how anyone could refuse. Like, I think it's a bargain. This is a Gremillet.
I think you should save it for when I'm over.
Oh, yes. So then there's, and then there's like, what's another favorite style? Like, I love dessert. So I might do late harvest of some kind.
Yeah.
And this is just a cool example, late harvest Merlot, non-traditional. But, BC
I
ice
saw
wine.
that on the Marquis website. So I think you can get it at Marquis downtown. I bought this at West Coast Liquor here in Kerrisdale.
Mm-hmm.
Had a little hat on it.
It's so cute. Santa's here in small and big portions. I like it.
I like going to the small, not the big wine stores, but like going to like my small little wine store and West Coast Liquor does a really good job of this, is that I can go in and say anything and they will pair it for me. They know the wine so well. They actually you can see them start to like, oh, that's interesting. And they'll start to really think about it and talk about it. And they're like invested in you getting a good pairing of wine. And after a while, they start to get to know you and they start to know what you like and what you don't like. And they'll say, well, how was that last one? It's like, well, it wasn't quite my favorite, but I really like, a Malbec or whatever. And they start to get to know you. So I think it's so important to, like, if you're learning about wine, like I am just starting, to develop that kind of a relationship with your local wine guy.
Totally. And it makes a huge difference just to have someone along the journey with you, for sure.
Yes, which is what you do. And
yes, ma'am.
You had, I think, a champagne in your 12 Essential Wines for Christmas ebook, which is on your website, which is
yes, ma'am.
goodwinegal.com. Is it goodwinegal.com?
It's .ca because I'm in Canada.
Okay. Right.
But that's
12
like
Essential Wines of Christmas. I have my coffee.
Yay! Oh my goodness. It's an amazing step to kind of leap forward what COVID's causing, trying to pivot, trying to reorient, trying to be helpful, trying to, introduce wines like, gosh, online, there's such a overwhelm there because there's so many styles. And I was like, how does anybody go to a wine shop online and like go, what do I do here? Like, what do I do? So I thought, well, why not give them a guide? So it kind of like condenses it. 2 options. You have 2 or 3 options per event, and then you're good. So I'm going to be excited to see how it's received, and certainly if people use it. I mean, yes, we have I don't know, about 50 downloads now, which is amazing. And can we get to 100? Amazing.
Let's do it.
Yeah, please go download it. It's a free download and you get 10% off. Like, can you imagine? It's a free download, you get 10% off. And all I ask is if you feel generous and appreciative, please make a donation to either the food bank or a women's shelter in your neighborhood. Like, those are really special and important things, especially at this time. So, yeah.
Especially. And I like that in your classes that you also have that you can sign up for on your website, I like that you focus on one little area and one great, basically, or one kind of wine, because then I can go to the store and I can get 1 or 2 bottles of just in that general area or whatever they recommend. And I don't have to, there was a master class online and he did 500 wines in the class. I'm like, I can't possibly take in that much information at once. Let me have it bite-sized. Let me focus on one area or one wine and then learn about that a little bit and then go to the next one. So I really like that. And then I think...
Thank you.
What else do I have here? Oh, all I have here right now is when I was at Mission Hill this summer. So I bought a few put away bottles. So I have a system in my wine fridge that if this end's facing out, that means I don't touch it until it's time. And if this end's facing out, I can drink it whenever I want.
You know, I think that's great to have a system in a cellar. Like, one of the things we used to do was we used to have these little tags, you know, like an Avery tag that you might handwrite a price tag on. And what you can do is you can put a date that you could open this bottle. So you could be like, 2025. And then, you know, like,
you're like, what big event will be happening in 2025?
Yeah. Or the other thing you could do is write what the name of the wine is on it, so you know, because that's the other thing.
I put a little sticker on the ones I'm saving. I put a little sticker because we went to the tastings at all the wineries this summer in Okanagan, and so they said this one keep for this many years, this one keep for this many. So I put a little like written tag on the inside. So
awesome. Do you use an app, a wine app like Vivino or Delectable or something?
I don't yet. I'm not organized enough. But Vivino, I think, is the one that you recommended that I said I was going to download. I'm writing that down.
Actually, the one that there's lots. There isn't one that I don't recommend, but I started using one called Delectable, which I kind of thought was cool because you can take a picture of the wine and it finds the wine in the whole scheme of things and it prompts you, which is so helpful. And then you can share it on social. So you kind of accomplish more than one thing at a time, which for me, I was like, I just need all that efficiency. But it's a habit. You have to get in the habit of taking the picture through Delectable. And I'm like, always take my phone. Like, my phone's going to blow up. It doesn't have any memory left. There's no more room. I've taken way too many pictures.
Yours are all of wine and mine are all of food. So we just need to get our photos together.
Yes.
And
we need one place to...
some pairings. So we'll keep working on some food and wine pairings. I'm so excited about that.
I am so excited about, 50. I'm going to call it the 50. Because the 50 is going to be so cool. And I told a few people what we're doing, and they were like, oh my God, I'm going to have to read that. And I'm like, yes, you are.
Well, I think it's important. And for anybody watching, what Barb's talking about is I started writing a 50-chapter book on my life journey, all related to food. And so at the end of each chapter, and the last chapter will be next September when I turn 50. So I have 50 chapters. The book has started this past September, so it'll go through. And at the end of each chapter, I have a recipe written. So Barb's going to start chiming in and doing wine pairings with all of my recipes.
And the first one, I love it. And the first one, frog's legs, I'm like, I haven't even tasted them. But just by looking at the recipe, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I have all these ideas. And so like, bing, 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 bing. It's like, okay, this is going to be great. It's going to be great.
I think that's true for both of us. Like, once you've tasted enough wine or once I've tasted enough food, you can start looking at something and reading the ingredients, and you can almost taste it in your head. And you're like, oh, when I'm starting to taste that in my head, because I was reading a lot of the wine notes from your last class, I'm like, when I'm thinking that I want to taste this, and so you start to even do the pairing without even stepping foot in the kitchen. You're already starting to think about it, just because you're starting to use all that experience you have, right?
Yeah. And, you know, the rewiring of your brain around the sensory piece is like super dynamic and super multidimensional. It's kind of like encompasses everything, really.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite wine place to travel?
Oh my gosh. Well, can I tell you about San Sadurní de Noia? It's about 20 minutes from Barcelona, and you kind of drive into the mountains. And it's a very famous place because it has 17,000 people, 80 tasting rooms, and it is the cava capital of Spain. Someone who loves bubbles, hello. And then, of course, the very famous story of Cordonier and, you know, the rise of sort of the two most prominent cava producers in Spain. So very historic and significant, fantastic landscape. But this town, they celebrate everything to do with sparkling wine, like, and grapes and wine and, you know, and of course you're in Spain. So that means, you know, you go to sleep at, I don't know, siesta. And you go up for dinner at 9 o'clock at night and drink more wine. So it's like, I don't know. Very nice lifestyle, I have to say.
It's like upside down land.
Totally. Upside down land, yeah.
When we went to Barcelona, it was with two smaller kind of boys. So it was so hard to wait until 7 o'clock to get the first seating at a restaurant. And we'd literally be the only people there. I think I talked to you that I was hoping to be in San Sebastian next year for cooking classes. So I'm still crossing my fingers for that, but I'm sure there'll be a few cavas served nearby.
Well, I'm hoping that we have a breakthrough of some kind that lets us take on those fantastic adventures of food and wine in another country. Like, what's more exciting than that? Going to the market, getting your groceries. And you don't know maybe what you're preparing that day, but what's fresh, what looks appealing, you know, and then you go home and it's like, okay, I don't know about you, but I open the wine before the dinner.
I always have a 1 or 2 glasses sitting there while I cook because it takes me like an hour and a half to make dinner most of the time. I'm making everything from scratch. Nothing's coming out of a can or a jar. So that's my Zen time. Like, I just love that time. I have my wine at my hand. I've got my knives. I've got my board. Got my little mise en place going. And that's my favorite time of the day because I kick everybody out of the kitchen. Nobody's allowed in the kitchen when mommy's in her cooking time. And it's just so peaceful. I love it.
Yeah, I think the Zen thing is really true. I don't know if I should say this, but I was the baker at the Bugaboo Lodge, and the Bugaboo Lodge is at 4,500 feet, and you kind of have to relearn how yeast rises and all of when water boils and how you get groceries anyway. They come up in a helicopter, you know, just like that's how we do it. Yeah, but the point there is just there's an experience about connection with your heartfelt contribution to the next occasion of eating, which is all you. And I don't know anything like it. So it's my relaxed time for sure. I love it.
Sipping your wine. Are you a mimosa person with your bubbly?
So I'm not, but you know, I went to the botanist and I had like the best mimosa ever. And I was like, oh my God, this just blows it for me because now I want to find, I don't know. It was really great. Yeah.
Well, it's healthy. There's juice in it. You're eating food while you're having your wine.
Well, you know, Kir Royale, right? Like
Love.
I love blackcurrant. So I love cassis. Cassis drives me nuts. I don't know if you've been to Odd Society, but they've got a cassis liqueur. Oh,
yes, I've had it in the house a couple times. I go through cassis a lot because my favorite duck breast recipe has a cassis raspberry dressing sauce, like a gravy that you cook in the leftover duck fat. And so it becomes this like already kind of has a chocolatey kind of flavor to it with all the sweetness and all the savory and all the salt. And then when I serve it at the table, every time we shave dark chocolate right on top of it. And it's
I have I'm just like, oh my God, my brain's exploding. Like, wait, I thought chocolate was only for breakfast. What are you talking about?
No,
Dinner?
it's for duck. It's for duck.
It's for duck.
What would you pair with that though? It already has cassis in it.
Yeah. So cassis is a classic note of beautiful Bordeaux, left bank, Cabernet Sauvignon dominant or Napa. But you do want the acidity. So you don't want these like super baked, super hot, super high alcohol, sort of Napa red cab blends. You want something with a bit more finesse. So, I love a producer in Carneros called Truchard. They actually practice sustainable viticulture. They have this herd of goats. The goats go through it, they clear the land. And then they take great care to make sure that all that they use goes back into the vineyard. So all of the must, once grapes are pressed, you're left with all the skins and the stems, and it goes back into the vineyard as fertilizer. Super amazing wine because it's not a jam tart. It's got that acidity that you still need. And I think acidity is just the key to almost every dish, but acidity with a duck breast that's, glazed with cassis and shaved chocolate. Like, hello.
It's already very sweet. So
yeah, well, you could even do, you could even do champagne.
Of course.
Of course. I don't have a bottle here of, the Truchard red, but, another great producer, and I might even be tempted to say Zinfandel, because not the jammy kind, but from Hendry. So Hendry is in the south of Napa, great producer. I've actually visited with those folks. He's Canadian. Oh, good. Well,
and I know I could watch this later, but
that's okay. Yeah, you're awesome. I love that about you. You showed me the paper of the notes from the last session. I was like, oh my God, this is my sister. So Hendry, they do blocks, and each block is fairly specific. And so they've got Zinfandel and blocks throughout, and you will find it's kind of, in the Ravenswood genre, but it's got a bit more fruit. It's not so extracted. And when I say extracted, I mean, the thing about pressing fruit is you've got to be kind of gentle, and you got to treat it with care, and you've got to get the first, run of the juice and all that. So, Hendry's awesome for Zinfandel. Ravenswood, I'm not saying they're not awesome. I sat through a tasting with that group. My goodness. I think we tasted like 12 different styles of Zinfandel. By the time you're done, you're like, I don't even know what my name is. Hello. Sensory overload, because Zinfandel, blackberry, blackberry, a bit of a maybe blueberry. There's definitely black cherry. It's quite a sort of a rich flavor profile, but then you and it can have a lot of alcohol, because Zinfandel, the grape, when it ripens unevenly. So you may have some that are raisinated, you may have some that are still a little green in the bunch, and that all, comes into the play of, as the wine ferments, we're converting sugar to alcohol. And when we convert sugar to alcohol, like if we can't get rid of all the sugar, we have sweetness. So that is why we don't want headaches either, because we must be paying attention to how sweet is this wine. Someone said recently in a post, I just love, some open, whether it was Merlot or whatever. And I was just like, I think people like it because it has residual sugar. It has sweetness. We're all suckers for sweetness. Like we really, really are. That's human. So, to learn to appreciate dry wine really means you need to have food in front of you, because sweet red wine does not go with everything. You really need the dryness and the acidity and the tannins to kind of like create, an experience in your mouth. The food meets and then goes whoosh, acidity cleans off the palate and ready for the next bite. And, the tannins, that little drying sensation, means you need a little salt to balance that out. So hence
no shortage of salt over here. We're a safe family for sure.
Ooh, tell me about salt. Tell me about salts you like.
Salts I like all of them.
Yeah.
Very savory. Dinner usually here is a protein and maybe 3 vegetable side dishes. And usually I lean towards like a lot of citrus flavors, a lot of acidity, a lot of salt, a lot of like I use a lot of bacon fat or duck fat when I cook. So there's a lot of salt in there as well. And so definitely like I guess for me, looking for more acidic wines to be able to cut through all those different flavors. Is that what you're saying?
Well, and then let's go one step further. You know, what about maiden salt crystals? What about pink Himalayan? What about, you know, like, why do we want to be buying all these? Because they're all quite different. It's very much like, which wine do I choose? So which salt do I pick to go with which dish? Like, truffle salt. Hello.
Truffle salt, I batch use it because it goes rancid. So you have to, once you open, I buy it in the tiny little jars now. I've learned that at least, not buying it in big jars because you can only go through it so fast. But my favorite thing to do with truffle salt is popcorn.
Yes.
So
and again, ladies and gentlemen, we come to, let's have it with some champagne. I mean, that is such an amazing combination. Or Pinot Noir, because or Barolo. Like, I find there's just a couple of styles that really love that, you know, we call it umami, that really mushroomy, but powerful kind of note, right? You think of mushrooms.
When it all comes together, yes. It is, I don't know how to at Granville Island, but South China Seas has the truffles. Usually
I love that place.
So they bring them in from this year. I don't think they have French ones. I think they have Italian ones though. So I might get one of the Alba truffles this year. And usually it used to be for my son's birthday. And that's all he wanted for his birthday was a truffle.
I love your kids.
Very weird kid. It was like his 13th birthday or something. He's like, all I want is a mushroom, Mom. I'm like, okay, I'll get you a mushroom, kid. And
I love it.
And just an entire dinner based on truffles. And it was so delicious that now, regardless of his birthday, it's just kind of become an annual tradition. You know, January is not a lot happening anyway. So usually January, we end up one evening having this giant truffle dinner. So I'll be calling you for pairings on that, although obviously.
Yeah. Yes, I love truffles. In fact, I hope one day to do the whole truffle hunt, you know, to be able to be in Alba, to go out with the dogs or the pigs, as it were, and find.
I'll come with you on that trip for sure.
Yeah, why not? I just think anytime you can do the deep dive into origin, how lucky. And man.
And hopefully we can travel again soon. But in the meantime,
I know.
goodwinegirl.ca and all the wine classes. Right now we're in France, right?
We are
in France.
We are in fantastic France, and we have 3 sessions left. We have the Rising Reds of Southern France, which is a fantastic session because the price that you pay for these wines that are yet to be discovered tends to be relatively low. Like, for example, I picked up this yesterday. It just is released at the BCL. So this is a place I also visited in Narbonne. This is Gerard Bertrand. And for $26.99, this is not full bodied. This is medium bodied. It's more like red cherry. It's not blackberry, but a great food wine. And I'm like, herb sausages, maybe mashed potatoes. You know, this is going to be the pairing for me for this wine. There are so many options. You could think maybe pork, ribs, beef ribs, barbecue sauce, that kind of thing. It's Grenache Syrah Morvet. It's a classic Southern Rhone blend. But this guy, and what I love about Gerard Bertrand is he is a philosopher and a spiritualist, and it's all about biodynamics. So it's all about, the root day, the leaf day, the fruit day, the flower day. We do things on this. Yeah, we do. Oh, there's a very fantastic calendar that you follow. They do this really interesting process around invigorating the soil, because in their view, soil health is everything. And it's not just about grape farming. This is about farming, period. So biodiversity is very important, but making sure that the soil health is there. And one of the things they do is, they use cow horns, they fill them full of manure. There's a formula for it. They take it out into a certain plot of land. They dig a hole, they bury these. They leave them over the winter, 6 or 9 months, and then they bring them out and the manure has turned into liquid, and then they pour the liquid around the vineyard, and this revitalized, I know, and it's all natural. There's no chemistry other than the natural chemistry of soil, of products that came from, the earth. And it's very interesting because this is a movement. There are many choosing to follow this course, including, the guys in Alsace, the producers that are actually very famous, like Domaine Zind Umbrecht. And Zind Umbrecht is a white wine phenomenon. In fact, Olivier was involved with Phantom Creek, which is the new Mr. Bao winery in the Okanagan. It's really preeminent in that it's probably one of the most expensive winery vineyard projects so far that we've seen in the Okanagan Valley, and certainly world-class aspirations for marketing and selling wine. And so Olivier informed about white wine production at this fantastic new winery. And while they don't follow 100% biodynamic practices, his beliefs are part of who he is. And so he's very much involved in this movement in France. And this is where Gerard Bertrand connects also, because this is his belief, is that, the health of the soil determines everything in your grapes and then in your glass. So cheers to that. It's like what we eat, right?
It's your ingredient sourcing. It's everything.
You are what you eat. If you are what you drink.
You are what you drink.
Yes, don't drink sugar, please.
I love it. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. We can catch Good Wine Gals sessions and everything on her website. You can join me Mondays for lives. I have a few fun ones coming up, and usually Mondays. This was a Wednesday, but yes, I do know it's Wednesday, not Monday today. Sometimes I don't know.
But it's Wine Wednesday. It's Wine Wednesday. You're allowed.
Wednesday? So it's perfect. Okay, yeah, we did it on purpose.
We did it on purpose.
You can find more me on Alison Kent, homekitchen.com. So thank you so much for coming out today. Can't wait to chat with you more about wine. I'm sure you'll be like a regular guest on my Mondays.
Yay!
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella.